So you mentioning stuff. I do a little something, something, nothing major. All right, very cool, 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 cool. Look, I made it. Hey, YouTube. Oh my God, I made it. You know how those Wednesdays are. They can roll over into Thursday real quick, real fast. Just a second. Give me a minute and let me get this together real quick. Let me see. Let's see if I can open up another YouTube. Let's see. Let me get that link. FOA denial from Fort Huachuca request. Bearing his life. He look like he got a new haircut and some more ears. Bearing his life. God, I want to go over there so bad. God, I want to go over there so bad. I want to go over there so bad. Andrew COVID. He said, no, to try to be an honest, honest person. Post analysis. Who is he? Something happened. I'm trying to go see. I'm trying to go and see what happened. It's always something. Let me go see. What's going on over here in the YouTube streets on this Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. Look, I was able to get everybody in to bed. And so, um, and I was trying to get logged into Mrs. Dr. Mind Games, as you can see. Um, I wasn't able to get there. They were sending the recovery letter. They were sending the recovery code to some email. To some email. And I'm over here like, what is that? What is that? Like, so I don't feel like getting started with YouTube about it. That's other people business. Let me see who replied. Nobody. Nobody. Oh, Andrew, this is not what you told me. You told me specifically that he texted you, they are going to kill me the night before. I specifically asked you to who he was referring to, and you said, I'm not sure. This was less than 48 hours after his assassination. Now you're certain he meant leftist? And then just he said leftists were going to do you claim to be an honest, informed, honest? Um, okay, so I believe Keisha and Rick are in the run-up. Oh, jeez. It's gonna get spicy, huh? Hold on, give me a second. Okay, get out of my business so I can log into another one. Um, I had don't do that, don't do that. I don't want to hear you too mouth about no music playing. Sorry. I did have some music playing in the background while I was trying to get situated. And then I had Saul. I'm finna email them in a minute. Watch. Cause I'm like, mm-mm. I'm like, I don't know what that email is. Sorry. But let me go to the QLM radio. Log in to QLM radio real quick. Uh, Hi, how are you doing? Is that Cecil? Cecil? I'm sorry, it took me a minute to get down there. Eyes, but oh my God, hi. Oh my God, doing. Hi. Who is that? Who is that that it is? Okay, 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 okay. Send me this link real quick. Okay. And then we're gonna get to Candace. Something happened. I don't know. She just be stirring ish. I be here for it though. I ain't even gonna lie. Um, that's YouTube over here with these. Oh, can you airdrop it? Or that's too much to ask for you today. Okay, airdrop it to me. We got DMs over here. You know what? They be saying that mine is a terrible thing to waste. I totally agree. Uh, oh yeah, that's me. Sure. Give it to me. Copy. 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 Who knew you had to double tap to mad bullshit. What's your stuff? What's your name? I got it. What was it again? 28. We can be here. Can you shout me? Oh, you're so pretty. McKenna. McKenna. Hey, Jojo. Oh my God. Hi, you guys. Happy Wednesday and stuff. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up while you're here. Because it is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I was going to cheat the system. I was like, well, if you wait till after midnight, it could be Book Club Thursday. Then tomorrow, you can take the day off. And I was like, you know what? Don't do that. I was sort of very tempted. Change that. That's usually what I do. I usually end up changing it before I post it. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Let me see. I posted. Hold on. What is X talking about? Okay. Let me see. It might be automated. I should complete this. Oh. Oh. Okay. Well, hold on. I can pull it up if you want to be an ass about it. Let me see. Right. I'm like, that's nothing to just pop it up on X. Uh, Okay. Okay. See? It didn't even take a oh my God. I'm not necessarily sure why. Wait, what is she saying at the bottom? Oh, okay. Uh, hold on, let me see. I should have logged out. Um, and I should have went to another one. Um, Ethan, hi. Hi, Ethan. I still love that name, Ethan. That's such a cool name. Let me get over here to Candace real quick and see what happened.
You guys, happy Wednesday to everyone except Brian Harpo. What an absolute nutcase. And I mean, you guys flooded up the
Case. Not
things that
nutcase.
you guys were just on
What is
fire.
it?
You guys, happy Wednesday to everyone except
Where is it?
absolute nutcase. Am I right? I mean, you guys flooded up the comments yesterday. Doctors,
I'm playing in the background somewhere. I gotta find it. Let me. Okay. What is this? Okay, exit out of that. I have to find it. It's playing. Okay. Okay. I found it. I was like, first of all, what is that noise? Number one. And then second, I'm like, why do I hear myself? Okay. All right. Jeez, we had so much going on.
story he presented, wherein he led
Right.
the OR team. He took a gurney, pushed Charlie into a vacant room, jumped on top of him, apparently found some scissors and cut his t-shirt off from his body.
Then put it
In
in
the
his bag.
fantasy series are talking about. Not even in the fictional world of Grey's Anatomy because they want it to be realistic. I think Brian say liar, liar, pants on fire. And feel free, Brian, to add that statement to your lawsuit against me. The story that you described did not happen in emergency room. Now, I want to especially appreciate those of you who pointed out the additional absurdity of him claiming that he jumped on top of Charlie to cut the shirt off because why, sir?
Are you on top of the
Tall. Why would any adult sized man ever need to physically jump atop a gurney to cut a t shirt off? Are you miniature, Brian Harple? Are you not taller than a bed? You think if that's what surgeons are doing, paramedics jumping on top of people to cut a shirt off? I mean, it is an astoundingly dumb story the more you think about it. So the question is, why did he tell it? That's what we're going to explore today.
oh,
Because he thinks it might be because it offers another clue
with
as to
that
what
shirt?
he went down on the way to the hospital,
Oh,
since they have conflicting stories. Him and Frank Turek, we're going to talk. And speaking of miniature, Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire is still crashing and burning financially. Semafor released an article, and it looks like since they can't find a private equity firm dumb enough to invest in them, they're going to attempt a Hail Mary pass. They think you guys, people back at home, are dumb enough to invest in them by buying shares. They're going to go for an IPO, putting themselves on the stock market. Would you purchase stock in the Daily Wire? Are you an idiot? Brian Harple? Let's find out. Welcome back to Games.
uh-uh. I don't want to see receive no copyrighted email about that song. Uh, Yay song. Like, what? Wait.
Boy, oh boy, did
What?
I love you back home. Okay, I have to tell you, crowdsourcing to solve a globally consequential murder. This might be the first time it's ever been done in history of the world, but it should not be the last time. Check out this email that we got yesterday in response to our show that we presented. When another sleuth actually happened to notice yesterday that mysterious white on the black tempered glass shards that were shattered in the back of the SUV. That sleuth from pointed to the plausibility that Charlie's road mic was rigged to explode. They said there's white on some of these pieces. Well, then we had someone send us an email and they started putting the pieces together. One crucial piece. They wrote, Dear Candace and team, I'm watching your show from earlier today. I'm in France, and I had to stop watching when you showed the shards after reading that email. I quickly spotted USB logo on the shard at the 15-minute, 30-second mark, the one to the left of the screen closer to you. And I wanted to check it. Please see below. All I did was screenshot your video and rotate the bit with the shard to line it up with a promo shot of the Rode mic. I think there's no room for doubt here. It's clearly the USB logo and or icon. Game over. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. I'm going to show you. This is what they attached to like from our show, the picture. And they then obviously flipped it and showed that that was the USB. I think this is incredible. Legendary Inspector Gadget finding. We did it ourselves. We can blow up that image and rotate it as well and put it side by side with the Rode Mike's UBS icon. So that really is something I do feel
USB?
this is what we have to do. We have to get
USB-C?
really molecular to close this case. I do believe firmly that it was Charlie's Rode mic bits that were shattered all over the car floor. And by the way, you guys were so in the weeds on this that I even had opticians emailing me to inform me that it was not possible for it to be sunglasses on the ground. The emails were like, hey, I don't know if you know this about sunglasses, but they're actually not allowed to shatter like that. There's a whole process in how they're created because obviously they are covering people's eyes. So they cannot create them
That's short.
in a circumstance in which they might shatter and glass would get all over people's eyes. Why, generally speaking, you know, if you break your sunglasses, if you break your glasses,
Yeah. Oh,
or the lens just pops out of the frame. And it was amazing. I'm learning so much. And she sent me step by step of the qualifications, what they have to pass, the inspections they have to pass. Anyway, this brings us to Brian's Pinocchio movie, the emergency room edition. Because why exactly did Brian Harpole spin such an extraordinary tale? A tale that I can tell you has upset deeply people who work in emergency rooms all around the world. A frankly implausible story because outside of blatant corruption, incompetence, a flagrant violation of every known law and hospital policy on the books, we can assume Brian Harpole is telling a porcupine, right? So let's at first re-listen to his extraordinary story because it is important and it requires our imagination. Take a listen.
We get to the hospital. Actually, we make it to the hospital through the traffic. We've got full wound pack in. We get out and we carry in to the door. But once we make it into the door, we see a gurney on the left hand side. We put him on a gurney and then I wheel him into a room. I start giving
given.
the patient information to the staff there. Uh, I end up getting on top of him and cutting the shirt that he had on off, that white freedom shirt. So I cut it off so they could get to him so that I didn't articulate this to them, but I wanted to get that stuff off so they could put it with it later on. And so, and then started talking about pushing drugs. And so I was back and forth and with them drugs and defibrillator. And and so then once get that shirt cut off and moved out of the way, enough of medical professionals in there. And so I just want to get out of their way. And so got out of their way and walked out of the room and then stood outside the room and held guard on the outside door of the room so nobody else could come in there.
Look at Candace.
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that when I go to the ER. I'm not gonna wait in line. I'm gonna grab gurneys. I'm gonna start telling them what kind of drugs to give them and guard the doors. So we have to ask ourselves, what is Brian Harpole trying to answer for here with his story, right? He's actually admitting something. Common sense, every fib that is told is only told because you're trying to cover up a truth or explain a truth that might not make sense, right? So what Brian is, I think, rather truthfully admitting here is that he was the person responsible for the removal of Charlie Kirk's shirt, right? No other reason to insert yourself into that narrative unless that piece is true. Which, as we explore our rigged microphone theory, is an admission that Brian Harpole would be the person responsible for removing the biggest piece of explosive residue evidence, Charlie's shirt. He is attempting to make that sound reasonable to the public. I was worried about the defibrillator And that's the reason why I cut Charlie's shirt, in case you find that that shirt had been cut using scissors later down the line. Now, since I do not accept that a random dude took command over a hospital ER room and was grabbing gurneys, and was allowed to freely jump across on top of, pardon me, a bleeding victim with a pair of scissors in hand. Somebody don't is this the person who harmed him? I don't accept any of this. I have to then logically consider that Brian removed Charlie's shirt somewhere else, right? And the only other option would be in the car on the way over to the hospital. Now, beyond anything else, the story that Brian tells us about what did happen in the car does not match the evidence of what we see in the photos that we were never supposed to have in our possession. These photos were never supposed to see the light of day. So let's review Brian's claims so that you understand them. Okay. First, we submit to you all a graphic of how they all piled into the car.
50% of people in this country.
Who's driving? Who's in the passenger seat, and then who behind the, third row?
We are in a GMC SUV. You've got Dan Flood there in the passenger seat. You've got Justin Davis driving. We have Brian Harpole, Rick Cutler in that middle row. Charlie is going to be across them. You note his legs are hanging out of the door. We're going to discuss that in a second. And in the back seat to himself is Frank Turner.
Brian
So here are the
assumption.
facts based off of Brian Harpole's testimony. You know, they have different testimonies. Brian Harpole's testimony regarding that short journey to the hospital. The hospital was about 8 minutes away. If you look that up just on Google Maps, that's if you're doing the speed limit. But they were not doing the speed limit. Brian makes it clear that they were going 60, 80, 100 miles per hour. That's what he says. We're going 60, 80, 100 miles per hour, weaving through the streets. So what we can reasonably deduce from that statement is that there was no traffic on their way to the hospital. You can't hit those speeds if there is traffic. And so they probably arrived faster than the 8 minute Google Maps estimation. We can safely assume that means that they shaved off a couple of minutes, approximately, let's say, a 6 minute ride. I think that's fair, right? It's also important to note that Brian claims that they did not close the car door, which was behind him as he was working on Charlie, where he was sitting, right? He says it was because Charlie's legs were too long and they just needed to quickly get out of there. If you go back and watch footage of them pulling out, you can indeed see that the door is ajar. So let's assume that's true. And instead, how they dealt with this door, which was open while they're doing 60, 80, 100 miles per hour, is Rick Cutler holds Brian Harpole steady as Brian is working on Charlie. Okay, so he's trying to stop the bleeding in his neck, according to Brian Harpole, and Rick Cutler is basically he's entrusting his life to Rick Cutler. Take a listen to Brian's own words on this.
The problem is we're going down the road and Charlie's so tall that his left leg is down in the door and the door won't close. And so I'm on my knees with the door open, with my butt hanging out of the side, and I'm on my knees doing the medical. And Justin's driving, we're going 60, 80, 100. And Rick has me across the kit in my shirt so that I can use both hands to do the medical one. And
So you
so
don't fall out of the car.
I don't fall out. And I just look at him and I don't need to say, you got me. He's got me. I know he's got me. Rick's a brother. He's got the tattoo. And so I was like, man, he's got me. And so I'm just working. Medical.
So
And Frank praying out loud. Rick's praying out loud.
Okay, so if you're imagining that, we're going to try to do like a really sloppy AI to present that to you. But if you're thinking, by the way, hey, Frank's in the back seat, he's not doing anything, could he maybe just kind of lean over and close the door? Well, you heard him. Frank, according to Brian, was simply praying in the back seat. He's on his knees on the ground. We've got Rick reaching over to him. And he then claims that during this time, while Rick is holding him, Rick is busy, Frank's praying, you got those other two in the front. He's going to put 36 feet of dressing around Charlie's neck. 36 feet. I want you to hear him say it. That's a remarkable amount. Very short drive. He's working, like he says, quickly. Take a listen.
I got to stop that bleeding. That's my primary thing. And so,
Mhm.
where he had a pulse, then it's unknown. The body's an amazing thing that can do things even when it's technically, destroyed. And so, my concern is bleed control. And so Rick's got me, Justin's driving, world's coming by. I'm working, I end up putting about 36 feet of dressing in him, and then four 4x4s, and then two hemostatic 4x4s.
Now, yeah, again, I'm wondering if it's like in for an assist here, but he does make it clear that he doesn't know whether or not Charlie has a pulse. They're not doing CPR because his focus is on getting his wound dressed. And he also says the human body's amazing. I mean, we've learned that. It's so amazing. It's not the 30.6, 3,000 pounds of energy coming at him in a bullet. So why not just keep going? Let's just hope for more miracles here, not check his pulse and not do CPR, and just worry about stopping the bleeding with 36 feet.
Like, what?
36 feet. And he repeats that story to Paramount Not So Tactical in a separate interview. Take a listen.
So I'm on my knees. I'm both hands, and I'm starting to pile out like, back pressure. Exactly. The saturation point's unbelievable. You're not pulling it out, you're adding to it, right? And so we're getting that down in there. And I remember, it's a training point. We've done to it before, but there has to be a better way. Like a matter of fact, maybe we can go ahead and put that little slit on the side of those.
You talking about that hemostatic gauze?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
I usually go in and actually cut them a little bit more.
but then, but we need something cool. We need something real time, right? And so I'm opening those with my mouth and down, and then spreading it out a little bit, put them down so I can get it back. And then I'm holding it there and then working off the other one.
Here's what comes off a bullet.
I don't know why Brian Harpo even talking.
12 yards, 36 feet. He's opening the packs. He's talked about he's got 2 packs of this with his mouth, has discussing how difficult it is to open those packs. Miraculously, there's no evidence of that in the car. What there is evidence of is that he used one 4x4 EMS quick clot dressing, which he admits he used that just one pack. Here is the picture. We can actually look at the floor, and we have the entire floor of the back of where he was. And you can see that he's got that one pack, which he potentially opened with his mouth on the side. All of that looks to be a fact check true. And I just want you to see, like, this is 4x4 dressing. Here's the actual pack that's available online. I don't know what to think about why there's not more, why we can't see more. If he's pulling out all of this on the ground, I would expect to see more, unless they mysteriously cleaned up the other packs that he was opening. No, those 4x4 packs, those are just 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, nowhere near the 12 feet, the 36 feet that he's talking about. Now, he certainly, and it sounds like, also had a roll of dressing, but those are sold at just 4 yards a roll. So why on earth did Brian have handy 6 rolls of dressing in his small medical bag in addition to clotting packages? That just seems to me to be very excessive, and like we should see some evidence of that on the ground. Okay, I'm just need to park information in the back of your mind as you're reading.
Okay,
If we continue to look at the actual evidence of the car,
sure.
we then have to ask ourselves, what could account for Frank Turek's, and it has to be a lie, according to Brian Harple, it's a lie. Frank Turek says that he himself, Frank, tried to start CPR. And to be clear, we can immediately determine that Frank Turek is likely the one lying in that scenario and not Brian Harple, because Charlie was lying across the seats. Okay. His middle section was therefore not flat. You cannot conduct emergency CPR on a person across 2 captain chairs with their midsection in the air. Brian, both of his hands are occupied. He would be, it's not an ideal position at all, but like he's the person that would be in the position to address Charlie's chest area. It's not possible. Okay. You need a flat surface to do CPR. Everybody knows this. And Brian has already admitted that it was him that was on the floor, down on one knee beside the chair because Charlie's legs were dangling off. Okay. Here's a very bad AI diagram that we're trying to show you of what Brian Harpole is saying happened, right? Brian would probably be a little more backed up toward the end there. And of course, we know Rick is going to be pulled over to the side, holding on to him. Frank Turek is in the back seat. You're not conducting CPR in this environment. I cannot stress enough that CPR could not have been conducted in that car. Brian is telling the truth twice on the bleeding, he says. So why is there this disconnect? Why just simply say, if you're Frank Turek, yeah, I was just praying in the back. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you why I think, similar to what I said before, when you are telling a little bit of a porcupine, the rule is it's because you're trying to introduce a truth that doesn't really make sense. Okay. So here's what I think, not what I know. This is the allegedly, if OJ Simpson did it. Okay. Not fact, my opinion, allegedly, allegedly. I suspect that the CPR story, which cannot be true, and which Brian Harpole says is not true, was necessary because Frank needed an excuse for why he changed into hospital scrubs when he got to the hospital.
I don't know who that is talking. It must be Madison in there.
Remember, Frank did not help carry Charlie into the back of the car. Did not run over to Charlie when Charlie got hit. He never traverses over Charlie's body or near the men that were holding him to get into the car. Do not forget, Frank climbed into the SUV from the trunk. He didn't even have to go through, excuse me, he climbed in through the trunk cleanly. Let's watch Frank get into the car, courtesy of Terrell Farnsworth. Take a look at this. Watch that trunk. There's Frank. He's going to get in that way. Nope, Rick's going to be busy. He gets in, runs around, and opens the trunk and gets into the car. Clean, fresh, white. If you're in your 30s, this one. Did not touch Charlie after Charlie got hit. Did not help transport Charlie into the SUV, and he entered clean through the trunk, meaning there shouldn't be any blood spill on Frank Turek. Okay. It actually, he had to willfully hop over from the trunk to even get into the back seat in the first place. Back seat, which should have been clean, according to the story that Brian is telling. So, given those facts and given Brian's testimony that Frank just prayed while they worked, how did he get so much blood on him? He certainly should not have had a significant amount of blood, which required him to change his clothes into surgical scrubs at the hospital. How did he get so much blood on him? He needed a story, in my opinion. I tried to start CPR. We tried to do CPR. That's why I was touching Charlie. By the way, I want to be clear, there's no such thing as we when it comes to the physical touch of CPR. One person conducts the CPR, another person might help count, breathe into the mouth. But delivering chest impressions is not a team sport. You can switch on and off. Brian says we didn't do that. And the person, we don't even know if he had a pulse. That's what he said. Why would you conduct CPR if you're not, none of it makes any sense. And like I said, the person who would have been in the worst possible position to give compressions to Charlie's chest outside of the driver would be the man from the trunk amidst 36 feet of gauze being unrolled and wrapped around somebody's neck. So what do our eyes tell us happened in this car? When we look at the shards, when we listen to Frank's discrepancy, when we listen to Brian's discrepancy, they're implausible stories. One trying to suggest why he cut off the shirt, the other one trying to suggest why he had so much blood that he needed to change. Okay, let's consider this a critical thinking exercise. Again, we're theorizing here, not a fact, an opinion. Okay, we used to be able to do this, think critically from the evidence that we can see in our car. It looks to me like we can conclude firmly that Frank did indeed touch Charlie and he got a lot of blood on his hands in the process. How do we know? Look at the back seat where only Frank was sitting. Here are the photos that we showed you. We're going to zoom in here. Okay, forget the brown bag, but let's zoom in to see there's blood on the seat. That looks to me like somebody just sort of wipes their hands that had blood on their seats. Okay, it looks like someone who was sitting in the back seat wiped onto the leather seats. Okay, that's got to be Frank Turek. Do we agree that Brian Harple didn't jump over to the seat to wipe his hand? That Rick Cutler couldn't have because it's 100 miles per hour. Most likely that's Frank Turek who was sitting in the back seat praying. And it also looks like they used that brown paper, looks like an Uber bag, to wipe their hands onto the bag. Now that could have been Brian. Maybe they passed it back and forth. Who knows? Like I said, Frank was the only person in the back seats. The natural question arises, with now that we're removing the plausibility of CPR, for what reason
To wipe
did
your
Frank
hands.
he may have acquired a lot of blood on his hands, and a lot of blood on his clothes. So here, again, is a theory, not a fact. That could make sense. I'm going to tell you a story, just a tale, and if I did it. All of them climbed into the car. The door was indeed left open, and so Rick Cutler's hands were indeed tied up, making sure that Brian did not fall out. Brian Harpole then whipped out his medical scissors, which are always pretty much safely in any medical bag. You're going to have a small set of scissors. And he began cutting Charlie's shirt off of him in the car with about 5 to 6 minutes on the clock. Now, you should understand that it is not easy to cut through cotton using
Them
medical
little bitty
scissors.
scissors, right, right.
So, with Rick Cutler's hands tied up, holding Brian so that he wouldn't fall out of the car, Frank leaned over for the assist. Okay. Any person who has ever worked with fabric knows you need the tension of someone pulling the shirt to cut through it quickly. Right. That's going to be your easiest option, is to try to cut through it and have someone pull to provide the tension so that it slices through. Once the shirt was cut, they lifted up Charlie to pull it from under him. And that's where all our road mic glass went. All of the shattered road glass pieces that were on Charlie under him got wiped off of his body, brushed onto the floor, right? Landed onto the ground. Now we're getting close to the hospital. Brian then realizes we should have been providing neck assistance, not cutting off his shirt. And so he grabs a pack, maybe two, of quick clot to put on Charlie's neck, because otherwise there wouldn't have been any evidence that anybody was working on him on that very short ride, as they were going to receive them at the hospital. The very same reason that they didn't put him into an ambulance potentially, is because they needed to remove Charlie's shirt and did not want people to ask questions about why, or notice that there was this microphone bits that were all over Charlie's body. Now, under that totally imagined scenario, that would of course mean that Charlie arrived to the hospital without a shirt on, shirtless, which would have been an inexplicable oddity that would require, well, Cash Patel's FBI team to swoop in and to seize the cameras expeditiously, which they did. We didn't understand at the time, why would they seize the cameras on the outside and on the inside of the hospital? We asked ourselves.
The dirty game they played with this Charlie Kirk scenario. I'm talking about dirt. I don't even know how they were able to even like seize the hospital footage. I'm like, well, go across the street. We ain't got no cameras. What a camera at on that ATM? This is getting
That makes
wicked.
why. Again, we're using our imagination here. It
Sure.
makes sense to me that there was an oddity on camera with how Charlie showed up in that SUV, whether it was the wrong time, maybe, but I think it was his condition. Okay. Um, yeah, uh, because it would have been an impossible thing to explain if for some reason somebody had leaked the footage of inside the hospital. It's a lie so stupid to say that you jumped on top of him, all of which would have been filmed, right? They got FBI just got to step in and clean that up. That's not if that's the story we're going with. There can be no cameras of what happened on the inside. Now, why do this? Why remove his shirt? Well, because explosive residue is extremely contagious, so to speak. The microscopic particles are passed through even the most casual contact between two people. Okay, it adheres to surfaces. Explosives are substances that have adhesive energy. If Charlie were in fact killed by an explosive, everyone who came into contact with his body would have had to get rid of the clothing. No questions asked. They would have had to get, they said that is explosive residue. A bomb dog would have smelled that in 3 seconds. Okay, less than that. None of their clothing could have been tested, or they would have had traces of explosives. Everybody who was near him, their clothes have to be abandoned. And you sure as heck, like I said, better keep the bomb dogs at bay. So it's just as well that they all admitted and came out and talked about how they got into these scrubs. Not even that, but they also said that they threw out their clothes. But they again provided you with a reason that's not suspicious, right? Frank Turek told the story of why we'll never be able to see his clothes ever again. Take a listen.
We got to the hospital somewhere around 12:30. He was shot right, like maybe 12:20. It took us like 10 minutes to get there, maybe 15. We had no, it was an SUV. We had no lights. We were just screaming.
Saw that.
Yeah. We get there. Mikey had already sent a plane to get Erica. And she got there, I want to say about 3 o'clock. Talked to the doctor. Went up and had private time with Charlie's body,
He's skipping a lot.
5:30. I'm about the only one in the emergency room area, just standing there. I'm in scrubs because
Your clothes.
clothes were, yeah, I didn't want her to see any of that.
No way.
Well, two loving pastors discussing that they did this because they didn't want Erica to see him like that. He admits elsewhere he threw his clothes away. In essence, every crucial piece of evidence which might go some way of debunking the explosive theory was destroyed, given away for the almighty widow. How could you question it? Of course, Jack Hibbs says, of course you got rid of your clothes. Why you wouldn't want Erica to see the blood on your clothes? Yes, everything we're doing makes sense. Of course, she would want the cross. It's very convenient that everywhere there would be evidence of explosive residue not taken care of. Hey, let's repave it like tomorrow, the entire scene, because she doesn't want to relive that. Not Tucker, Terrell, when I spoke to him, he used the widow. That was his excuse. I said, hey, why'd you take these cameras down? I didn't want Erica to relive Charlie dying. I said, Terrell, what do you mean? It's all over the internet. Why specifically the back cameras? I spoke to Erica. I didn't want her to relive another angle of Charlie dying. It's all very convenient. The widow is the most convenient person in the story if it's a cleanup job. We don't know. We don't know now. We know. We'll be right back after the break.
She funny. We don't know, but we know. At this point, we know. And that's so crazy because, man, September, I think we had kind of like lightly breezed across it.
Great question. We don't see them listed in evidence. That's a great question. Where are Charlie's pants? We're going to probably hear a story about how special the pants were. I don't know, maybe they're at another fundraiser. My best guess is they are in the garbage or they are with Erica. Just like noticing some themes of the story. They were either thrown out. What?
My thing is, if Brian Harpo was trying to give Sean Ryan the bloody bag, I'm like, well, that bag may have a little residue on it too. I'm just saying. Tell Sean to go back and get that bag.
Question. Hey, anybody at Timpanogos who recalls this incredible scene, please reach out to us. We'd like to know. By the way, speaking of my amazing at-home sleuths, I was really surprised by how many people emailed us regarding my assessment from Erica's entirely different signature. That it correctly informed me when I researched this that that is a sign of dissociative identity disorder. And we talked about that yesterday. So many people reached out to me who have dissociative identity disorder or who had it. And all of them with the same stories. A trauma happened in their youth. They watched, like, their dad kill their mom. They were abused as a child, and that they developed this ability to completely dissociate. And there was one person who said, not only is what you're saying fitting perfectly with Erica, given everything that we know about her and her alters, so to speak, which means the different personalities that she has, like the holier than thou presentation of when she's married with Charlie, the anger that we see. But they said that is also a dissociative identity disorder is one of the telltale signs is the eyes. And they sent me this. I don't know if we have it right because I'm reading this from my phone. And it says, yes, dissociative disorders can show observable physical changes in the eyes, including a strained look, unblinking stares, or opening the eyes harshly, like that people immediately notice about Erica. While dissociation is a mental defense mechanism, it heavily interacts with the autonomic nervous system and trauma response, directly altering your facial tension and your pupil dilation and your eye movements. This is from the NHS website, by the way. Physical changes in the eyes during dissociation is the trauma stare, which is known as harsh widening. When a person dissociates, the body's fight or flight system can spike, which floods them with adrenaline, which forces the pupils to dilate and the eyes to open harshly. Like that was the thing that we were like, she kept doing. And we were going, what's going on? Another element of this is the fixed blank stare, which is like they're in a trance like state. I have said that. It's like she's not there. A loss of visual focuses, and those are indicators that they're switching, like they're switching into another personality. And you guys are correct that the history of that does go back to Project Monarch. This was intentional. The government did a lot of experiments with that. The CIA and trained people to intentionally disassociate people that are serial killers that are used as weapons, and they want to make sure that they lock down their personalities if the police ever come across them. There's a lot of evil, intentional mental abuse that are imparted on victims because the government used that as an asset for people to be able to dissociate. So I wanted to point that out because I'm always so stunned by what I'm learning on this show from people, and to thank everyone who has had this disorder or has this disorder. I don't know if it's ever solved, for explaining to me their personal stories, and all of them saying that you do have these memory gaps, which we're seeing with her, where she just totally says something totally opposite and becomes a different person. Like you can't just, pro-Israel. And usually in those climates, when the CIA is involved in intentionally creating
Trinolone? Tronolone?
between
What
different
is that
personalities,
last name? Look, he got all the fruit.
there is a handler, so to speak, who has the key to
Man.
personalities. There's a lot that can be done on that.
Y'all, I was just down in Miami last night. Was watching this movie called Panama with Cole.
A lot of literature that's been written, but if you're interested in that, as I am, you should definitely look into it further. Again, MK Ultra program, the stuff that our military got involved with, and the beginning of that being Project Monarch, which took place in Germany, and we brought over all of those psychoanalysts and psychologists who themselves were psychopaths. Okay, moving on to this item in Semaphore regarding the Daily Wire. Okay, before we actually even get to the article, which was obviously intentionally placed in Semaphore to attract potential investors, I just want to show you this tweet from Dave Rubin, who the public sort of recently learned might not be smarter than a fifth grader because he went on to that debate show Jubilee. I've done it in the past. Charlie Kirk's done it in the past. Ben Shapiro was on it in the past. You're surrounded by 20 progressive participants and you are debating them on something that you're passionate about. So I debated them on feminism. And I guess Dave Rubin decided he was going to wing it on foreign policy and Trump and economics. And he got positively destroyed. In case you missed this, it was trending for like a week. We hadn't covered it. Particularly, he got destroyed on the topic of Israel and Trump's successes. Because my best piece of advice for debating anyone is to not take the obviously immoral and indefensible position in the debate. Like, don't arrive at a debate defending Israel's actions in Gaza. Don't arrive at a debate defending Trump's administration right now, right? And the Iran war. So I'm going to give you an example of his inability to articulate outside of his tribalism of anything that's Israel, yay, yay, yay. He's unable to articulate to this person what Trump has done this time around to warrant any allegiance to him.
Okay, go check on this dude. He had to use the bathroom.
Basis of his promises that he made to his voters. Take a listen.
Who is this? Victor Marks? Who voters? Ben Shapiro.
What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off? since he
Oh,
took
this
office?
dude.
GDP, unemployment, inflation, etc.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now. Okay, so we're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? You have any idea?
Listen,
I don't think you do.
Narrator, he did not. He had not one point that he could deliver of what Trump did, but Trump allows Israel to bomb people in schools indiscriminately. Speaking of which, here is another moment where he clearly has no idea what's going on in Gaza, but like he's a Zionist. So let's rah rah, it's all fine. Take a listen.
Trump made several campaign promises to his voters that he hasn't come through on, and yet we continue to hear you guys bootlick him all the time. And it's very frustrating.
is the modern left cares more about ideology.
Yeah, I disagree with the claim. I think the modern right cares more about ideology. I mean, so let's look at some of the things that Trump ran on, right?
Yeah.
He ran on an America First campaign, and then he bombs Venezuela. Then he doesn't end the war in Israel, even though he promised he was going to do that.
What do you mean? The war is over. The war's over.
No, it's
What do you mean?
very much
There's a ceasefire. There's not one Israeli in Gaza. The hostages are home. There's
no.
a-
It's fundamentally false.
You're saying there are hostages in Gaza right now, and the war is continuing.
The conflict has continued.
Yeah.
Yes, there continue to be bombs and
They're,
moving
they're
on.
bombing Gaza right now. That's what you're telling.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, some talk.
Yeah.
This is a fact that is going to happen.
And then they fact check him throughout the entire thing, and he has no idea what he's talking about. And this has kind of been a theme. Like he interviews a lot of people, and it's fine to be an interviewer, but when you are going to kind of insert yourself as an intellectual, you got to do a little bit of reading and a bit of background and not go back on vibes. And even if you go back to Dave Rubin's book, which I read, Don't Burn This Book, I knew he had no idea about foreign policy because there's a chapter where he actually published, I think this was back in 2020 when he published his book, that Ukraine was a member of NATO. That's so patently false. It's shocking that it even survived a fact check and got published on Stance. So he just has no idea what's going on, and he strikes me as someone who only reads headlines. So my suspicion was all but confirmed when Semaphore dropped an article about the Daily Wire, and Dave Rubin just tweets this, just full Zionist tribalism. He tweets, "Coming soon from Daily Wire, Meghan and Tucker tears Tumblr." And he shares exclusive Daily Wires and talks to take on at least 100 million in strategic investment with an eye on an IPO. That's all I read. It's very clear that's all I read. He didn't even click the headline and get brought to the Semaphore website because if he had, if he wasn't winging it, he would have seen this fuller headline. Okay, he just couldn't be bothered. It reads exclusive Daily Wire under pressure seeks strategic investors and targets an IPO. So the exact opposite thing is happening. The Daily Wire needs money. And here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to raise $100 million. They have been trying to raise money for a very long time. And I have been saying on this show, I mean, the content of the article sums up what we've all known. The Daily Wire has been in a state of rapid decline and they're seeking a way out. After the last private equity firm clearly failed to rescue them, they are now turning to high mount capital to try to help them raise money at a valuation that is so absurd that they surely know they are not going to meet it, given their distressed financial state. And I got to say, it brings me absolutely no pleasure to report that an organization that spent 2 years trying to bankrupt my family because I think genocide is always wrong. Doesn't matter who's advocating for it. Doesn't matter if Trump is advocating for it, if it's Jared Kushner, if it's my side, if it's your side, if it's his side, it's wrong. Now they have found themselves in a situation that they attempted to really force upon me for wrongthink. And here are the main takeaways from the article. Finally, they admit that Pendragon, the Pendragon cycle, Jeremy Boring's pet project, is what caused a significant amount of financial duress for the company. Okay, they finally admitted that they spent $50 million on just 7 episodes. That is just to understand how crazy and insane that is. They spent, actually, by the way, to be clear, I've been saying the whole time, more than $50 million, closer to 60, but at least they're finally admitting that it wasn't $10 million or $7 million as it had been reported in the past. That means they spent more per an episode than HBO spent on the first season of Game of Thrones. I want you to process that. That is mania. That is Jeremy's mania. Okay, that is the single greatest contributor to the fall of the company. Jeremy Boring constantly needing to fulfill his childhood fantasies. Now, he tried to scrape back some of that price tag by getting rid of me. I've been telling you guys the story forever. They were under financial pressure. They needed to remove people that they were paying. They weren't going to do Jordan Peterson. So they got rid of me in a rather glorious public firing, which Jeremy was hoping would lead to more subs, taking a moral position saying she's anti Semitic. They were hoping that more people would sign up. Christ is King is anti Semitic, but it actually backfired and it catalyzed their financial woes. That was then followed by Brett Cooper's exit later that same year, also because of Jeremy Boring and his mania. And then they tried to sell, doing this exact same strategy, different private equity firm behind them. At the end of 2024, they were sort of like fake pumping their subscription numbers. What I mean by that is they started giving away their memberships, like basically for free. Buy one, get one free. Buy a lifetime subscription for X amount of dollars. Sign up today. Don't pay anything until 2029. You get the idea. The gist of that is it allows a company that's struggling to pretend that they're having a boost in subscriptions without having to say, well, we're not making any profit. Like I could get 10,000 subs if I offered them all for free, right? You can say things like, we had our highest years in subscriptions without saying, because we're giving our subscriptions away. Girl, is this not the most? Right? This is an example. Buy 1 year, get 1 year free. That's for the ability to sell to people that your company is doing well when you're actually struggling. It's like a everything must go sale, right? Then they go, we had the highest day of revenue. Yeah, you offered everything for $1. I love this stuff because, as many of you know, I used to work in private equity, which in that particular firm that I worked at in New York City specialized in distressed debt. So I got really interested in looking at how struggling companies try to make the numbers look better. Like we had our best year of subscriptions. And Semaphore actually produced a chart showing the decline of the Daily Wire. It's remarkable. The revenue growth has slowed. They've admitted that they had no subscriber growth this past year. Their advertising, go back to the advertising on the right hand side, seeing how that has dropped. I love that it's all happening the year when I left. And you can see their subscriptions as well. A complete collapse has happened. So why is this happening? Well, because they're unnecessarily awful to everyone. I've never seen a person less capable of making friends, or at least not making enemies. You don't need to be friends with everybody, but than Ben Shapiro. It's a bizarre talent he has. He thinks that people disagreeing with him is a declaration of war. Okay, this is how the company is run from top to bottom. They hate you if you don't agree with them. And even their editor in chief, I can't think of the guy's name, he spends his time just throwing insults on Twitter aimed at 19-year-olds, calling them Hitler and anti Semites. If they discuss something like the USS Liberty, they do that. Okay, that's not a company, that's a cult, and a cult cannot survive. So what is their next push? Well, they're pushing out these articles. We had 48 million in adjusted EBITDA. Adjusted. Oh, well, how did you adjust that EBITDA? That means we calculated the EBITDA and then we added some stuff back to the number too, because we don't count this money that went out the door. I mean, you could adjust EBITDA until the cows go home, until we can see your books. They're in a very precarious situation. That is a reality. And like I said, this is what happens when you just can't accept that some people disagree with you. And so what they mentioned in this article is their next thing as they're going out to companies is that they think that they can successfully IPO it. And that is a last ditch effort to turn to people at home and go, hey, the Daily Wire is going to go to the stock market. Don't you, hey, you could own a piece of the Daily Wire. And when that happens, in that situation, it's like a Trump meme coin. It's worthless, but of course, the people at the top get fat and rich, relying on people that have less money to put their money into the markets. And so it's going to be you, the same people that they have basically shaped this company to now refer to as anti Semites, as literally Hitler, as idiots. I mean, watching Ben's show, for those of you who do it, how much content can I see clips going out on X of him talking about Tucker Carlson and me? Is it really riveting to learn that Candace Owens is going to Russia with her family, to say that, you know, Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly or this, that, like, what? Now he's like, you guys pick up the tab. We failed. We won't say sorry. We've been dissing you guys at home for being moral and having a position and saying Christ is king. But now we're going to trick you into getting behind us in an IPO. So what do you say, Goy? What do you say? Are the Goyim here and present and willing to invest in the Daily Wire? I think Paramount Not So Tactical might. Go for him. I would pretty much leave it at that. We'll be right back after a break. All right, you guys, now I want to tell you about Okay, top comments from last episode. Judith Brunko writes, I'm a retired ER nurse married to a retired emergency room medical doctor, and Harple's story is so absurd. Only highly trained ER staff and surgeons enter the trauma rooms with the trauma patient. Time is of the essence to save their lives, and interference from visitors is strictly forbidden. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so many people are writing this in. It was just incredible to see. Gina Schubert writes, I'm a nurse working in a hospital for 22 years. No way that happened, as Brian Harple says. No. I mean, even the idea of just like scissors and jumping on someone, they'd be like, is this person finishing the person off? We don't know what's happening. Is this person here to hurt him? Like, none of it makes any sense. Also, I wanted to add here, someone emailed us with very good knowledge. Let me just say this person was very high up the chain in a police department. And he said, you should be able to find what district attorney, because only a district attorney could release that, like the cross necklace, back to Erica, the microphone, that would require a signed release from the district attorney. That never happens. This is considered evidence unless a district attorney signs off on it. So how did Erica get all of these artifacts back? Great question, the lead that we will explore. Also, you guys wanted to let you know, I saw all of your comments and emails. It's a rabbit hole regarding the Toole witness, Sarah Toole, who changed her story 3 times. We will have that information for you tomorrow. We're going to look into the witness tree. I was positively shocked. I guess not really, because her changing her story was odd to begin with. You guys noticed she was smiling, of course, the whole time, which I didn't even point to because the story was so absurd. I didn't even get to the part that she was smiling, but a lot more there than meets the eye. We're going to get into that tomorrow. Jana also wrote from yesterday, nurse here, OMG, this man has me hollering. He did not wheel him into a room and get on top and cut off his clothes. Are you insane? Never in any ER hospital setting would this happen ever. Not only are you rooming patients, you are not discussing drugs or a defibrillator. Oh my, OMG, I'm hollering. This is insane. You are not a hospital employee, medical staff, sir. Yes, I also had wondered, hey, what? Regarding the defibrillator, if he was also creating a reason for why Charlie's chest might have some bruising. That was a weird thing to say. I set it up for them. It like implies that they did it or they asked him to set that up for him. And I'm wondering if that's because there might be some marks that they know as a part of the autopsy report that they're going to explain as, well, that was from Charlie got defibrillated. I think that was just in the back of my mind. We'll see. In today's episode, Marlowe's writes, I'm a Catholic Lebanese born in Australia. Thank you for speaking up about what is happening in Lebanon. Our media shows nothing as Australia is also controlled by Israel. Love you, Candace Christ is King. Yes, I'm aware. I got banned from Australia because the Zionist lobby of Australia band together and said that I was a danger. Weird that you're still allowed to listen to my podcast. Is it somehow not dangerous? Is it only in person? Am I going to harm someone? Funny thing is, I was doing my tour about motherhood and feminism, but I got kicked out anyways. So yes, I would agree with your assessment there. Ashley writes, "Hi Candace, congratulations. Also curious what cousin Mia's opinion is about Erica when you both walked out of that meeting months ago. She just Mia wasn't feeling it. Didn't pass the vibe check. Couple of moments. He just was not feeling it. I will leave it at that." Jungle Mike writes, "Erica's interview on Fox News where she says Shabbat Shalom, Daddy's home. Could that be a reference to the pager attack that the Mossad committed?" I saw some chatter about that. I don't know anything about that. I don't think so. I think she just kind of accidentally rhymed there when she said that Shabbat Shalom, Daddy's home, and threw on his phone. And then James Lee sort of made that. It was just like funny that it did kind of sound like she was rapping a bit. Joseph writes, "Lies have no chance when Candace is solving the Charlie Kirk murder using the blockchain. St. John the Baptist or pro nobis. Yes, ora pro nobis, St. John the Baptist." And they also have no chance now that I'm pregnant. Actually, we have a clip of Charlie. Do we have that clip? Charlie, take a listen to this. Hello.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who acted feel victimized by your education?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for that.
Mm. Ooh, ooh, life's
Candace, I love it. Candace, not putting up with this nonsense, not playing into the feelings or the emotion. Life is tough, and stop asking the world around you to accommodate your weird fringe ideologies. Grow up.
grow up.
Allergies. I'm pregnant and I'm just not dealing with the nonsense anymore. I kind of love and hate watching clips of him just being so happy and enjoying himself. It's crazy what they did to him. Moderator Marzi writes, "Erica disassociating while lying is like Elizabeth Holmes getting caught grifting and lying with fake lab machines. She had gaze issues as well and couldn't control her eyes widening and getting dry. She stared at people who asked tough questions." I remember that. She was the biotech entrepreneur who got convicted of fraud and then went to a fake prison that she's probably not even in. You should look into her family. You want to go down a rabbit hole of how these billionaire families come and just keep their billions while pretending that they're inventing things. Elizabeth Holmes could be a whole series. Her parent, her family, I forgot her actual family name and their dynasty that they come from, but she didn't pop up out of nowhere. That's old money. The next person writes, "I forgot who said that there is a call from one of the police cars following Charlie's car, and they said it looked like someone was trying to jump out of the car." Yes, Brian briefly discussed in that Sean Ryan interview how they caught a police tail, so it's possible that they saw Rick.
I'm gonna just, in the meantime, in between time. Love you. Bye.